Hello and welcome to Formula Phil. Today we are doing a short video on Tom Pryce. Now, just a word of warning before we get started, I will be showing some footage of the accident that he was killed in and perhaps some stills of the aftermath. So if you're a bit squeamish, it might not be for you. But that's not till later in the video. So if you want to just learn about the story of Tom Pryce, continue watching, and when it comes to that point of the graphic images, I'll warn you first and you can just turn off if you don't want to see it. But if you want to see it, it is a part of the Formula 1 of that time. The grim reality was, these men got killed. That was the danger. Now, saying that, I am not going to be showing really graphic pictures or anything like that out of respect. We will be seeing the aftermath of the cars perhaps. Well, anyway, now that's out of the way. Hope you're enjoying the videos. If you are, please like and subscribe, and let's get back to Tom Pryce. Tom Pryce was a Welsh racing driver, born on the 11th of June 1949. Pryce is the only Welsh driver to have won a Formula 1 race, and is also the only Welshman to lead a Formula 1 World Championship Grand Prix, which was 2 laps of the 1975 British Grand Prix. Pryce started his career in Formula 1 with the small Token team, making his only start for them in the 1974 Belgian Grand Prix. Shortly after an impressive performance at the Formula 3 support race in the Monaco Grand Prix, Pryce joined the Shadow team, scored his first points in Germany in only his 4th race. Pryce later claimed 2 podium finishes, his first in Austria in 1975 and the second in Brazil a year later. Pryce was considered by his team and all of his peers as a wet weather wizard, showing phenomenal car control in the rain. Pryce, from a young age, showed an interest in cars, especially when he managed to get behind the wheel of a baker's van in his hometown when he was only 10. One of his childhood friends, Trevor Williams, remembers the early years of Tom's career by recalling at 17 there used to be boy racers hammering up and down country lanes. Tom Pryce took great care of not being caught because his dad was the local policeman. In the early 70s, Tom Pryce raced many classes, including Formula 3, Formula 2, and impressed in many races. But it wasn't until 1974 when Pryce got the call for Formula 1. He joined the Token racing team, and while it wasn't a full campaign, his driving style showed other teams of his potential, especially when he wasn't allowed to run at the Monaco Grand Prix due to inexperience. In anger, he decided to race in the Formula 3 class and proved all his doubters wrong by winning that race by a full 20 seconds. That was enough to cause Shadow Racing to notice this ferociously fast Welshman, and he's made his debut for that team midway through the 1974 season. But it wasn't until 1975 that he really came into his own, winning the Race of Champions at Brands Hatch, qualifying second at Monaco and taking pole at Silverstone. Pryce's star was in the ascendancy. He looked like he was the new British star on the rise. Though 1976 was a year of ups and downs, mainly due to the Shadow Racing team's lack of competitiveness, and much of 1977 was the same, with occasional flashes of brilliance from the Welshman. Tom Pryce began his final race weekend at the Kyalami race circuit in South Africa by setting the fastest time on the Wednesday practice session. It was held in wet weather, with the eventual 1977 world champion Niki Lauda a full second slower. The weather dried up prior to the Thursday session and he slipped back down the grid all the way down to 15th place, almost 2 seconds slower than James Hunt's pole position time. Pryce made a poor start to the Grand Prix, and by the end of the first lap he was in last place. Pryce started to climb back up the field in the next couple of laps, and by lap 18 he had moved from 22nd to 13th place. Just a word of warning, from now on I will be showing the graphic footage, so if you don't want to watch that, turn off now. With Pryce slicing through the field, on lap 22, Zorzi, his teammate, pulled off to the left-hand side of the main straight. Just after a brow on the hill, Zorzi was having problems with his fuel metering unit, and the fuel was pumping directly onto the engine, which then caught fire. Zorzi did not get out immediately as he struggled to disconnect the oxygen pipe from his helmet. The situation caused 2 marshals from the pit wall on the opposite side of the track to intervene. The first marshal to cross the track was a 25-year-old panel beater named William. The second was 19-year-old Frederik Jansen van Vuren, who was carrying an 18 kg fire extinguisher. As the 2 men started to run across the track, the cars driven by Hans Joachim Stuck and Thomas Pryce came over the brow of the hill flat out. Pryce was directly behind Stuck's car, getting a drag on the main straight. Stuck barely saw the marshals and swung right to avoid them, missing them by millimeters. Pryce, being so close to Stuck's car, could not see clearly ahead. He had nowhere to go. He struck the teenage marshal at approximately 170 miles an hour. Jansen van Vuren was thrown into the air and landed in front of Zorzi and the first Marshal Bill. He died on impact. His body was badly mutilated by Pryce's car. The fire extinguisher in which he had been carrying smashed into Pryce's head before striking the Shadow's roll hoop. The force of the impact was so severe that the extinguisher was found over in the adjacent grandstand. Death was almost certainly instantaneous for both men. Though the horror show was not over yet. Pryce's car, now with its driver dead at the wheel, continued to speed down the main straight towards the first corner. The car left the track to the right, scraping the metal barriers, hitting an entrance for the emergency vehicles, and then veering back onto the track. It then crashed into Jacques Lafitte's Ligier, sending both Pryce and Lafitte head-on into the barriers. Thankfully, Lafitte was all right, but was horrified to find a headless driver in the cockpit of the other car. The young Marshal Jansen van Vuren's injuries were so extensive that, initially, his body was only identified after the race director had summoned all the race marshals and he was not among them. The eventual race winner was Austrian Niki Lauda, his first win since his near-fatal accident at the Nürburgring. At first, he announced it as one of his greatest victories of all his career, but when told on the victory podium of Pryce's death, he said that there was absolutely no joy in it after that. Pryce's death and its horrific nature were met with great grief across the world and was felt hugely throughout the paddock. Many had felt it had been needless, that if those two marshals had proper training, the outcome wouldn't have been what it was. Thomas Pryce was buried in the church near Otford near Sevenoaks, Kent, the same church where he and his wife Nella married 2 years earlier. He was just 27 years old. And that's it. That's Thomas Pryce. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe. And if you didn't, sure, good luck. Wee wee.